your third day in Rome is going to be ridiculously easy. You wake up, you have your coffee, your breakfast, you take the metro. I hope you took my advice and you're living in the Termini area somewhere. You take the metro to Spagna, the Spanish Steps. You look around the plaza. There's the column, okay, I called it an obelisk earlier. It's not. It's a column. The column of the Immaculate Conception, erected there in the 19th century, moved towards the Spanish Steps. Were built to connect the French church with the embassy. The English poet John Keats lived at the foot of the Spanish Steps. You climb up, you take in the views, you take some pictures, you go all the way up to the church. You can visit the church, it's pretty beautiful inside. Then you move laterally, a little bit away from the church. And from that point, again, you can take in all of Rome. And then you continue on towards the Villa Borghese. It's a huge park that has a gallery in it. Okay, so my advice is you rent one of those little, they're pedal cars with like electrical assist. There are fully electrical carts available. Don't take them, have some fun. You tour the park for a while. It's really worth it. Then you stop by the gallery. The Gallery Borghese is world famous. The main attraction inside is Titian's Love, Profane and Divine. Profane all dressed up, divine, zero inhibitions. You should use a different exit to get out of the park. Don't go back to the Spanish Steps, go further. And go down there, you'll see some gladiators on the way, to the Piazza del Popolo. The piazza is a site in and of itself. It is famous for a number of things, including the entrance, the gate. It was originally part of the Aurelian Wall, which encircled the entire city, and bits and pieces and parts of it you can still see here and there. It was renovated and vastly improved upon, especially for the arrival of Queen Christina of Sweden. Queen Christina was a very interesting character. At the age of 29, she abdicated her throne. She said, I don't want to be queen of Sweden, whatever. And she moved to Rome and lived there happily ever after. And she patronized the arts. Bernini was her friend. They say she was quite ugly in real life. In the movie, she is portrayed by, well, Greta Garbo.
I'd like to play her.
Okay, I'll inform the public.
I might need some representation.
Yeah, right. I'm gonna like drop everything and start looking for an agent for you. Agent for Ford Arena? Anybody?
Well, if that's your attitude, fuck you.
Fuck you! Look, we're trying to explain to people how to enjoy themselves in Rome. It's a very important task. Focus.
Alright, but this is not over.
Good. Women. Via del Corso begins at Piazza del Popolo and ends at Piazza Venezia. So it's like Rome's answer to Champs-Élysées in Paris and Fifth Avenue in New York. Laughable but cute. There are plenty of interesting sights and objects all around the plaza, and the plaza is huge. The obelisk, for instance, it was brought to Rome from Heliopolis, which is an ancient Egyptian city which was back then dominated by the Greeks. It was brought to Rome by Augustus, the first emperor of Rome, in the 1st century BC, and was first set in the middle of the Circus Maximus, which we will visit later. It was brought to this plaza by Pope Sixtus V in the 16th century. The obelisk dates back to Ramses II of Egypt, the pharaoh, yes, which makes it 3,200 years old, at least. To put it in perspective, 13th century BC is the time of the Trojan War, roughly 3 centuries before King Solomon. Now, go through that gate and continue on in a straight line, past the metro station. Don't take the metro. Continue along the tram line. A few blocks down, you will come to a junction of 2 tram lines. One of them is tram line 19. Take that one. Take it. Heading in the opposite direction, don't worry, it will make a right. And head towards Prati and the Vatican. First of all, you have to take the tram at least once when you're in Rome. It's a matter of form. Second of all, once you cross over the bridge on that tram, you're in for a huge surprise. This neighborhood is called Prati, and at some point you will look around from the tram and say, what is this? This isn't Rome. This is Paris. Oh yeah. Most of this neighborhood was built in the days when in Paris the reconstruction was in full swing. Okay, so a lot of these streets, boulevards, look like Parisian boulevards, lined with trees and everything. And some of the buildings look as if they were designed by Osman himself. This isn't your last time in this neighborhood, so don't worry about it. Get off at the last stop, it's this plaza, right? And walk towards the Vatican. In one of the side streets, you'll pop into this cafe. It's not a cafe, it's a sandwich place. It's panini, it's called Panino Divino. The girl who will welcome you is called Manuela. And the guys behind the counter are Ricardo and Antonio. The best sandwiches you've ever had. And ask for some wine. Wine in Rome is fairly cheap and they have a great selection. The only outside seating is this barrel. It's a lot of fun, guys. Smile, be polite. This is a great place. Now you head towards the Vatican. Don't go to the Vatican museums yet. There's a huge line stretching down like 2 blocks. And guess what? You don't have the reservations. So you'll have to stand in that line. So tomorrow, the day after, or the day after that, you'll know better. You'll approach your hotel clerk and ask him to make you reservations for the Vatican museums, including the Sistine Chapel, which you will see, but not today. Today you will only enter St. Peter's Basilica. And when you do, you will discover that it's just a church. It's not a cathedral. It's not even the Pope's seat. The main church, the Pope's, the Bishop of Rome's seat, is close to the outskirts, on the other side of town. We will come to that eventually, okay? St. Peter's Basilica is just a church. It's beautiful. It's very inspiring. Go in, take it all in, including Michelangelo's Pietà, one of the 4. know that the plaza in front of the Vatican was designed by Bernini about 100 years after the completion of St. Peter's Basilica. The idea being that when Bernini approached the facade of the basilica, he looked up and he couldn't see the dome. And that just didn't sit well with him. So he designed this colonnade which effectively moved the official entrance to the basilica away from the facade. So when you enter the plaza, that's the official entrance of the basilica from which you can see the dome. The basilica itself is pure Renaissance. The colonnade is Baroque. Speaking of domes, all of them around the world, in one way or another, take inspiration from the Pantheon. Now, Santa Maria de' Fiori in Florence is an octagonal dome, and it's elongated. It's not single span. It's almost like cheating. And we're not going to talk about reinforced concrete and steel frame domes, because that's also cheating. We're talking about like single span, pure domes. Okay. Let's talk about the diameter for a moment. Capitol building in Washington, D.C. The dome is 30 meters in diameter. The Pantheon building in Paris, originally designed as St. Genevieve's Church, is 21 meters in diameter. St. Paul's in London, 30 meters in diameter. St. Isaac's Cathedral in St. Petersburg, 25 meters. St. Peter's Basilica in Rome, 42 meters. Finally, the building they all took inspiration from, Hadrian's Pantheon, is 43 meters, still the largest. Now what you need to do is walk out of the square, and right outside the square there's a taxi stand. Take a taxi all the way to Sisto Bridge on the other side of the river. The reason you're going there is they have a place there called Punto Gelato. It is the best ice cream in Rome, possibly in the world, and they do have a bench outside on which you can sit and enjoy it. From the ice cream place, walk through the former Jewish ghetto, right there, make a right, make a left, and yeah, this would be the Palazzo Farnese. Tosca, Act 2. This is where Scarpia tortures Cavaradossi and tries to seduce Tosca, and this is where she kills him. So now, to complete the day, cross over that bridge into Trastevere and have some coffee, maybe early dinner or late lunch or what have you. And then if you're lucky, you can catch a street show.